like to invite Rob Sherwin to join us and share with us his knowledge. And again, it's not all about reserves either. We're often finding that it's the regulations that are out there and a lot of issues there that might need to be looked at as well. Rob, thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here this morning, and I'm very grateful to ADIPEC for the invitation to address you briefly this morning. I certainly wouldn't be radical if I was to stand here and suggest that the era of easy oil is over because at least as much of above ground risks as because of the technical below ground risks. But I just want to focus on one specific aspect of that above ground risk that is just becoming so much harder, and that is for all oil companies and their contractors to earn, to maintain, and to protect their license to operate. And this is against a context and a background, of course, of ever-growing distrust of the oil and of big business generally. We see this every survey, every year, shows that big business ranks a long way below the media, below politicians, as a trusted source of information. A distrust increasing around the world in many parts, not necessarily, of course, here in this region, but of big oil, accelerated perhaps by recent crises. Also, I think, a growing distrust of big neighbor, and I'll come on to explain what I mean by that, but the oil industry often operates where it is the only very significant industry. It is therefore a very big neighbor to a lot of people who have been living and working in that region for many decades and generations. And the fourth point of context is, of course, the ever-growing power of the individual or of small groups to hold companies to account. And, of course, this comes particularly as a result of the growth of social media. License to operate is a complex topic, and there are many different elements to it. Just today, in my brief comments, I just wanted to highlight two aspects. Firstly, I think it is quite clear that it is no longer sufficient for a company, particularly an IOC, to obtain simply a legal license to operate in the form of a contract from a central government of a major resource holding country. That license to operate also needs to be relevant and appropriate at a regional level, at a local level, and often an ultra-local level, i.e. what is often referred to as the fence line communities, the immediate neighbors of the project. And we know that wherever the oil industry goes, expectations from local populations of job and wealth creations are set sky high. But you all know that the industry is actually vastly more technology intensive than it is labor intensive, leading very often to dashed hopes. This is aggravated, of course, by what the local populations will see as the boom and bust of the construction phase, generating many jobs, moving into the far fewer jobs required for steady state operations. I think a key element is to help build capacity among local communities, often very local communities, to share in the economic benefit and wealth of the project by often becoming suppliers. Even in the lowliest form, they may not be able to provide high technology, but if they are able to benefit and see their own wealth grow because they have a stake in the success of the project, then I think this is what both developers and specifically also investors are increasingly going to be looking at, to make sure that a company has done everything possible to minimize the risk of delay, of cost overruns, and of obstruction to the project. We've seen actual sabotage, of course, of key equipment in projects where companies have not managed to attain this local license to operate. And then the second aspect I wanted to talk about was, and again I think this is particularly, has been accelerated this year by the Gulf of Mexico crisis, is the need for companies, again both IOCs, internationalizing NOCs and their contractors and service companies, to demonstrate, to prove to host governments, to their boards, and especially to their investors, that their operations, that they have plans in place, that they have the funding in place, the balance sheet strength, that they have the training from top to bottom in the organization. And we now know that that goes, of course, beyond the boardroom as well. But I think clearly the need for a company not only to earn, to maintain, and especially to prove that it is able to protect its license to operate is going to be an ever-increasing challenge for oil companies. Thank you.